Coming up on Focal Point, we'll be talking about the new plan in order to make sure students stay on track to graduate in 4 years.
Coming up on Focal Point, we look into why housing companies allow students to sign leases in October.
If you're walking down Grand River and Abbot, you might notice something's missing. I'm Gabriella Galloway. Find out what that is next on Focal Point.
Focal Point starts now.
Good evening, I'm Kayla Robinson.
And I'm Chloe Keipel. Welcome to Focal Point. After nearly a decade of waiting, the buildings on the corner of Grand River and Abbot Roads have finally come down.
Now that eyesore is gone, what's next for that corner? Focal Point's Gabriella Galloway is live in the Spartan newsroom with the latest.
Thanks, Kayla. The former Citizens Bank building is now reduced to a pile of rubble, and those we spoke to say it couldn't have come soon enough. It's been a long time coming.
It's a big day. I wish it were sunny and the whole city were out here.
As the city of East Lansing says goodbye to an aged building.
It has been an eyesore for a long time.
10 years to be exact. And now the Park District Planning Area property is finally torn down.
I couldn't be more excited.
City Council members say they've been looking forward to this day since the start of their term.
This is an example of what East Lansing can do when it works together and puts a lot of pressure and keeps the pressure on.
Before becoming an eyesore, Barbara Dunlap says that old building was a lively part of Grand River.
My first bank was here at the corner. I was so proud to open my first bank account.
As for what's to come to the former Citizens Bank, that's still up in the air, but many citizens are just happy to have the building torn down.
It was a really demoralizing thing there for a long time, and now that's going to change.
Although there have been 3 plans that have fallen through since 2008, the city is continuing to work on the future of this site.
We could still see something happen there in 2018, potentially, but it really, again, depends on those plans.
While I'm sad to see it go because it was the home of my first bank, I'm also happy now that we're kind of cleaning up this Grand River area, and hopefully it's going to look new and vibrant again.
As for the blight buildings next door, the city hopes to have those torn down by late October or early November. Kayla, back to you.
Thanks, Gabriella. It's only 6 weeks into the fall semester at MSU, but students are already looking into housing for next year. Focal Point's Griffin Wasick has more on how students deal with the stress of getting a place to live and why they need to do it so early.
On the banks, there's a school, home to 50,000 plus, and everyone needs a place to live.
I feel like an apartment is a lot of responsibility and it's a lot of extra work on top of already doing like full year of classes.
MSU freshman Sarah Presley doesn't like how soon students have to decide housing options for next year.
I mean, it is a little bit of pressure to like have to choose so early in the year when you're not even sure like where, like what you're going to be taking next year, like what classes or like who your friends are going to be.
Apartment companies like DTN allow students to sign leases in mid-October. But Presley and her roommate for next year were hesitant to sign.
And she was like freaking out because like the deadline was so soon. And I think that's kind of what did it for her too, because she wasn't like super ready to commit to something like that and pay like the down payment for the whole thing so early in the year.
Housing companies typically lease their properties before apartments even open their application process.
So this was the one website I looked on and I was definitely confused.
MSU freshman Kira Alpiner had trouble signing a lease for a house.
I found one management company in East Lansing that sounded reputable based on what people told me, and I went to the website and it was very sketchy.
Why do housing companies like DTN allow students to sign leases in early fall? The answer is quite simple: supply and demand.
It's really hard on us too. We would prefer to wait until February.
Emily Wolscheid, DTN's area director, said 20 years ago the housing process started later in the year.
As demand increased, other competitors started pushing back further and further and further. So, and dorms also start reaching out for renewal in October.
DTN pushes back a little bit, allowing students to sign leases 1 to 2 weeks after other companies. In East Lansing, Griffin Wasick, Focal Point News.
And while the mad housing rush has subsided, there are many options still available, including staying on campus.
The East Lansing and Michigan State University Police Department received a letter recently making general threats against MSU's athletic events. The letter did not provide specific information, but both police departments are working with additional law enforcement agencies on the investigation. Athletic Director Mark Hollis says the well-being of everyone who attends athletic sporting events will always be their first priority. Police urge members of the campus community to remain vigilant and be aware of their surroundings and report suspicious activity. Racial tensions on campus are on the rise after a racial slur was found on the door of 2 students. The first week of October, 2 African American students living in the Evans Scholars House were shocked to find the N-word written on a flyer taped to their door. The 2 students immediately brought the issue to the attention of the House Executive Board and benefactor. 10 minority scholars helped write a plan of action regarding numerous counts of racial bigotry within the House. This incident left the African American students unsure about the safety of their living and learning environment.
What do we do to support them, and then what do we do also to make sure that this doesn't happen again? Because that's a lot. They're living in this house with the person who did it. So I can only imagine what it is that they're going through every single day to wake up and just see that.
The African American scholars are looking for a new place to live with hopes of using the housing scholarship dollars for the new location.
In an effort to deal with East Lansing's crippling $200 million debt, the City Council unanimously voted to put a tax initiative on the November ballot that would increase the city income tax but decrease the property tax. Focal Point's Christian Barrington has more on what this means for students and others working in the city.
With a crippling infrastructure and an even more crippling debt, Mayor Mark Meadows and the East Lansing City Council are proposing a new tax structure.
60% of it will be going to pay down that pension obligation. 20% of it will be going to infrastructure within the community. All of that and the other 20% would be going to general community operations, so parks, recreation.
Those who live and work in East Lansing will see a tax hike if voters approve the proposal.
At a 1% rate or a 0.5% rate if you're a non-resident.
Michigan State University Creative Service intern Carly Weyerbach is in favor of the proposal.
I like the idea of fixing the pipes just because of everything that happened with Flint. I wouldn't want that to happen here. And then I do like the idea of maybe renovating some of the parks or bringing those up to code or just making them better because I have a dog and I like to take him to the park. So.
For MSU employee Josh Baer, the feeling is mixed.
I can understand both sides of it, I guess. It's one of those things where I'm like, okay, but should I have to support the roads and stuff where I only work?
Let's say you make $10,000. As a Lansing resident, you'll be paying 1% per your salary. For the person that's making about $10,000 per year, they can expect to pay $100 per year. To figure out how much you'll be paying with the new taxes, multiply your salary by 1% and you'll get that tax. Voters will decide on November 7th whether to approve or deny the proposal. In East Lansing, Michigan, Christian Barrington, Focal Point News.
The proposal will include a reduction in property millage from 20 to 13. For more information about the proposal, you can visit the City of East Lansing's website and search income tax and property tax reduction. Animal shelters around the country are coming together with the Bissell Pet Foundation to help animals displaced by Hurricanes Irma and Harvey. Focal Point's Macy Krupasevich shows us how the Ingham County Animal Shelter is gearing up for tomorrow's Empty the Shelters event.
Caitlin Turner is an animal lover and works for the Ingham County Animal Shelter. She says it's been hard to see the animals affected by the recent hurricanes.
I think I saw anywhere from 100 to 150 animals got brought up from those hurricane-affected areas.
Now that animals are filling shelters, workers like Sarah are hoping next week's Empty the Shelter event will help find new homes for them.
This Empty the Shelter event really helps us make room for more animals to come in so we can take care of them as well.
I'm here at the Ingham County Animal Shelter where tons of kittens like this one are being prepared for the Bissell Empty the Shelter event.
They all deserve a nice warm bed, food, water, and cuddles every day. I mean, that's what we want for all of our pets, and these guys are somebody's pets just in waiting.
Adoptions are completely free thanks to the Bissell Pet Foundation, which is sponsoring events like this across the country.
Just because somebody wasn't able to care for them anymore, or they snuck out the door and their owners weren't able to pick them up for whatever reason, that doesn't mean that they should live at a shelter forever or not get that second chance at a family.
This Empty the Shelter event makes homes for many animals, and that's all Sarah could hope for.
We really want them to get into, their forever home and stay there.
In Lansing, Macy Krupasevich, Focal Point News.
You can line up at the participating shelters starting at 8 a.m. Saturday morning. You can also preview the animals for adoption by clicking on inghamcounty.org and search for pet adoptions.
Grand Rapids wrapped up the 9th annual ArtPrize competition last weekend, and the results are in. Art lovers from all around the country came out to witness hundreds of pieces of art during the 3-week competition in venues throughout the city. Some artists actively presented their work, while others had interactive displays.
My favorite, I think, is the Lincoln. Lincoln is amazing, made with all pennies. But there are so many others. Here's the lady with the chicken wire, her skirt is swirling. And there are so many over at the Gerald Ford, too, that are lovely.
The Lincoln portrait by Richard Slatter won the popular vote and took home the $200,000 prize.
Contra line dancing is alive and well in mid-Michigan, as the organization called Dancing in Lansing put on the 30th annual Lookingglass Dance Festival. The 3-day event drew people from all over the country who danced their hearts out to music from Pete's Posse, a fiddle group from Vermont. From line dancing to square dancing, there was something for everyone.
But the fun with contra dancing, at least for me and I think a lot of people, is you will literally dance and touch everybody in the room over the course of the evening. And you dance up to them, although really it's just a simple walking step.
The event was held at the Central United Methodist Church in Lansing. If you miss the big event, there are regular contra dancing lessons on the first and third Sunday every month. Regular admission is $15 and students can get in for $6.
Polish immigrant Irving Grifel came to the United States at 18, leaving his family and the old country for a new life of opportunity. But when World War II broke out, his family never got the chance to follow. Now he tells his story of immigration, prejudice, and why he sees history repeating.
This is my mother, her sister, and this is my oldest brother and the middle brother. Well, I was born on September 2nd, 1920, to a family of 3 boys. That's where I was born, Lwów, Poland. See, there's something here. Yeah. In Europe, the atmosphere there was not that friendly for anyone who was born Jewish. My mother's brother lived in the United States. The family decided my stepbrother and myself would be sponsored to come to the United States. When we left the family, all we knew, we're going to try to make it possible that they can come. Immigration was not very easy. 2 of us wound up in the United States, but the rest of the family stayed in Poland.
How would your life have been different if you didn't leave Poland?
Well, I wouldn't be alive. My whole family perished away. Hania, Safran, Grifel. The war broke out soon after it. Ruzia, Safran, Grifel, and they perished. Samuel, Marcus, Grifel. And no family that stayed in Poland survived.
You will not replace us! You will not replace us! You will not replace us! You will not replace us!
And here in the United States, we have segments of population that definitely wouldn't mind to have another Holocaust here.
Not all of those people were neo-Nazis, believe me.
So that's the world we lived in, which is not very much different what we're living now. It's a repeat of history. It's part of everything. You could say I prospered here, but it was just luck.
Irving never found out exactly what happened to his family members that died in the Holocaust. He just celebrated his 97th birthday and lives in an independent senior retirement home in Novi, Michigan, near his daughter.
That is such a powerful story.
It was such an honor to speak with him. He's truly living history.
Thanks, Chloe. Coming up next, find out how MSU students were able to learn more about Muslim culture.
And check out how people in Lansing combine beer and exercise for a good time.
What makes a Spartan a Spartan? The relentless drive to turn question marks into exclamation points. Believing that we are strong as one, but extraordinary together. And it's our impact that matters most. What makes a Spartan is what's inside, the commitment to something bigger. Because the world never stops asking, who will? Spartans will. Ever wonder where courage comes from? Where one finds the strength to believe in solutions that seem impossible? It takes a Spartan's will to understand that by working together we can solve the world's biggest problems, from renewable energy to fighting malaria. After all, if we don't do it, who will? Spartans will.
Free food, beer, and a little bit of exercise, all part of the monthly fun at the Lansing Brewing Company. Every month, nearly 400 runners participate in a 5K along the Lansing River Trail. It's called the Brew Run. It's a free event, but organizers encourage runners to donate to a different charity each month. All donations for the October run went to the Ingham County Animal Shelter. Since it is a fun run, everyone is welcome to go at their own pace.
Our goal is to have people move more and move better, and this is a huge initiative just to get people out and moving more often.
To sign up for next month's Brew Run, head to runsignup.com.
Well, with flu season already here, we'll show you where to get your shots on campus.
And more Friday classes for MSU students? That's the plan to help kids graduate in 4 years. Macy Krupasevich joins us in the Spartan newsroom with these stories and more in this week's On Campus segment.
A new campaign for class scheduling is underway for students that could require them to have class more often throughout the week. Focal Point's Kayla Robinson has the details on what this may mean for both students and faculty.
The one thing that many college students try to avoid?
We only have like one Friday class right now, and it's later in the afternoon.
Friday classes. With the new scheduling initiative, this may make it a little harder to do so. It's called Go Green, Go 15. The MSU Board of Trustees and many other faculty members, including Associate Provost Dr. Saker Chavukula, have been teaming up to try and keep students on track during their time at Michigan State.
Our real goal is that students should go and talk with an advisor and get a realistic sense of how they can plan their college career to be able to graduate, hopefully within 4 years.
Because what some students don't realize is that 12 credits per semester throws them on a 5-year plan.
So that ultimately would be more expensive for students and not be as good a deal.
The idea is to space out class scheduling and start filling up more time slots on Fridays for more general education classes. An associate chair in the Department of Community Sustainability, John Kerr, believes this campaign will help solve scheduling issues.
If we had courses spread out this way, it might be easier to find courses, classrooms in the places where we want them.
Empty classrooms such as this are what staff are trying to avoid. With Go Green, Go 15, it's the next step in making that possible. Freshman education student Hannah Anderson thinks the new plan won't be ideal, but will be worth it in the long run.
So having more Friday classes won't be as fun, but I think it's definitely manageable because I'm used to that in high school.
The Go Green, Go 15 campaign is not required, but instead is highly recommended for students. In East Lansing, Kayla Robinson, Focal Point News.
Go Green, Go 15 is expected to officially start next fall. Muslim Awareness Week wrapped up last week with 6 days of events on campus to help Muslims and non-Muslims understand more about the religion. The director of the Muslim Studies program spoke about how ISIS twists Islamic law, specifically how the terrorist group inverts obscure references from the Quran to justify their violence. The speech was followed by Q&A, and after the event, students mingled and ate traditional food from a Muslim-dominated country.
It's a very negative Muslim rhetoric, and so we wanted to start small and we wanted to focus on how we could change it on our campus.
The Muslim Students Association regularly hosts seminars, discussions, and other events for both Muslims and non-Muslims. Flu season is upon us, and with a campus of 50,000 students plus faculty and staff often working in close quarters, health department officials are highly encouraging the campus community to get immunized now. Focal Point's Katie McCoy takes us to a flu shot clinic right here on campus.
Getting a flu shot. I'm going to have lunch with a friend afterwards.
Kate Comby is one of many MSU employees to get her flu shot at the library this year.
And so it's just been a routine for me for years now.
Comby understands how contagious the influenza virus is.
Well, I worked here in the library when I was working. I'm retired now. Because kids came in, they had their homework to do, whether they were feeling well or not. You know.
On average, about 25 million people get infected with influenza every year.
Well, every year seasonally we end up having influenza, ends up being a part of kind of the healthcare that a disease that we end up seeing. And the point of the flu vaccination is to try and limit the number of people that actually come down with influenza.
Carol Pysick is a university physician. She wants to help prevent the spread of influenza since she has a personal connection to the virus.
I've had it twice. It's a miserable disease. And you also don't want to be that person who's responsible for giving it to people.
Between 5,000 and 50,000 people die every year from the influenza virus.
I don't think I really take too many other precautions except what a normal person would do, like, washing your hands a lot.
It's a matter of washing your hands after, you've eaten. If you've been around somebody who's coughed and sneezed, it really is important to actually get your flu vaccination because you don't want to get the flu.
It takes about 2 weeks for the vaccine to become effective, so officials say to get it done early. In East Lansing, Katie McCoy, Focal Point News.
Students pay $30 to get the shot, but it's free for faculty and staff. The College of Communication Arts and Sciences is known as the first communications college in the United States. It's one of the largest in the nation with 56,000 alumni. ComArts-Sci was recently ranked #2 in the world for communication on the Shanghai Rankings Global Ranking of Academic Subjects. ComArts Dean Prabhu David says he was excited to hear the news.
This kind of news is important, and it reinforces what we already know, that we offer quality education for our students.
Michigan State's government group, ASMSU, recently announced a new effort to help get students involved with making decisions here on campus. ASMSU plans on surveying students on a wide range of topics, offering prize incentives just to participate. ASMSU's president hopes to increase student involvement with this new program.
Think about sexual assault, mental health awareness, budget affordability for college, all the big scale issues for Michigan State University and its students. So we want to ask students where these kind of fall in importance for them, and really what can we do to help them engage with us in that process.
ASMSU hopes to start the survey over the next few weeks and will send out an email when participation is needed. And that's what's happening here on campus. I'm Macy Krupasevich.
Thanks, Macy. During Rivalry Week, things can get a little heated between MSU and Michigan.
In past years, Wolverine fans have vandalized the Sparty statue on campus, but members of the Spartan Marching Band do their best to make sure that doesn't happen. Sparty Watch is an MSU tradition where members of the marching band camp out and defend the statue from Michigan fans. Band members start on Monday and help guard Sparty every night throughout the week. It's also a time for band members to socialize with one another and have a good time. Each night, different activities are planned to help pass the time, but one of their favorites is when head coach Mark D'Antonio delivers pizza.
Oh yeah, I've done this for 11 years now. We brought pizza here the night before the week of the Michigan game on a Tuesday night. We've always had a good relationship with our band, and we'll continue to do that. And I think that they make it happen.
The MSU ROTC watched Sparty on Friday night, so the band could rest up and travel to the Big House on Saturday.
For a full breakdown of that game and the rest of the sports, Griffin Wasick joins us at the sports desk with the preview.
Thanks, guys. One of the best rivalries in college football, Michigan and Michigan State, squared off in Ann Arbor. By now you know that MSU has won 8 out of the last 11 against the Wolverines. We'll show you some highlights and reaction from the coach after the break. Welcome back to Focal Point. I'm Griffin Wasick. Michigan and Michigan State had battled on the football field 109 times without ever playing at night. Well, the storied rivalry took another step forward this past Saturday as the two squared off under the lights in Ann Arbor. The Wolverines ranked 7th overall heading into the game in their 4th ever night game at Michigan Stadium. We start in the first quarter. U of M notched a field goal on the opening drive, and now the Spartans have it. Brian Lewerke takes it himself and dives into the end zone. His second rushing score of the year puts MSU up 7-3. Now in the second, Spartans threatening again. Lewerke dumps this one off to Madre London on the screen pass. London slows down and uses his blockers to lead him in for another score, making it 14-3 Spartans. London celebrates with fellow running back L.J. Scott, who was out with an injury. In the third, U of M would finally reach the end zone. O'Korn throws a bullet to Grant Perry, who appears to cross the goal line. Review showed he was short, but the Wolverines punch it in on the next play and cut it to 14-10. The Spartans forced 3 interceptions in the second half and controlled most of the game. Last chance, the Hail Mary pass from O'Korn as time expires was knocked down by Bocce. It's over, Michigan State with the massive upset over number 7 Michigan. Mark D'Antonio improves to 8-3 all-time against U of M. The Spartans bring the Paul Bunyan Trophy back to East Lansing with the 14-10 victory.
You know, I knew that we'd rally up, and I knew that our football team and our program would basically come back to the top. So that's what we're trying to do. We're just trying to do it step by step. But I'm extremely proud of our guys, the way they kept playing. And really what we did was we just played one play, literally one play at a time. And we made some mistakes there that drives you crazy. But, you know, hey, we survived them.
I think it just shows, honestly, that, you know, all the things that we've been through as a team and all the adversity that we've faced, we fought through that, and we've stayed strong together. And that really showed tonight. You know, we have a great group of guys that's on this team, and, you know, we've been through so much this offseason that the little adversity that we faced with the rain and whatever else was going on in this game, it just allowed us to fight through that.
So the Spartans improved to 4-1 on the year, 2-0 in the conference, right up there with Penn State and Ohio State at the top of the Big Ten East. After last year's 3-9 disaster, not many thought the Spartans could be a contender in this top-heavy division. But D'Antonio and the entire program moved forward, and that's exactly what the Spartans need in order to avoid a letdown this weekend.
The message to our football team right now, though, is, you know, what are you going to do now? How are you going to respond, whether it was after a loss or after a win? How are we going to handle anything that comes our way now? You're going to be judged by the next thing, and the next thing on our agenda is Minnesota. So we go north, and we look to them.
Now in the rankings for the first time this year, the 21st ranked Spartans square off against the Gophers for an 8 o'clock tilt under the lights. The Michigan State men's basketball team held their annual media day on Wednesday at the Breslin Center. Tom Izzo, now in his 23rd season at the helm, understands the lofty expectations his team has ahead of them. The Spartans returned 4 out of 5 starters from last year's team, perhaps none more crucial than sophomore forward Miles Bridges. Bridges was a projected lottery pick in last year's NBA draft, but decided to return for his second season in hopes of bringing a national championship back to East Lansing. Izzo and the players embrace the pressure and understand this might be the best team he's ever coached.
If you can't handle it, you shouldn't have come here. I mean, we've proven over the years now enough times that, you know, we're a quality team. We've been ranked in the top 10 a lot more than we haven't in the last 15 years. And, you know, hopefully that's why you came.
We embrace the pressure. That's basically the advice that the team has given us, and we try to use that to our best abilities.
Taking it one day at a time, because you can't play in the Final Four tomorrow. You can't play in it 4 weeks from now. So it's just taking, you know, one day at a time, doing a lot of preparation, and I think the biggest thing is being coachable and learning from your mistakes.
The ISZone campout is tonight for students wanting lower bowl seats in the ISZone. And Midnight Madness is next Friday night. Admission is free at the Breslin Center. The MSU volleyball team continued their 3rd week of Big Ten play with a home game against Wisconsin on Saturday. The 14th ranked Spartans toppled the number 7 Badgers for the 2nd time this season. After dropping the first set, MSU stormed back by taking the next 3 over in Jenison Fieldhouse. The Spartans improved to 12-3 overall and 5-1 in Big Ten play. Their only conference loss coming to 4th ranked Nebraska last week. It was their 3rd win against a top 10 team in as many weeks. And next up is another top 10 opponent, number 2 Penn State. Head coach Kathy George talked about the grueling Big Ten schedule her team has been on.
Big Ten volleyball, so if you're going to do anything in this league, you're going to have to beat a lot of top 10 teams. So, you know, I felt good that we, you know, were able to beat Wisconsin 2 times this year already. And even though it's weird to have it so close back to back, you know, beating them at their place was one thing. I'm sure they came here looking to avenge that. And I know they were ready. Their game plan was good. I thought it was good to see how our team responded.
The Spartans returned to Jenison Fieldhouse on Wednesday for a big rivalry match against Michigan. Now working backwards on Saturday, the MSU hockey team got their season started early in the afternoon at Munn Ice Arena. The Spartans shut out Toronto 3-0 in their only expedition game of the year. Patrick Kodorenko and Tiro Hirose scored goals along with Cody Milan. Ed Minnie and John Letherman split time and goal to combine for the shutout. Heading into the regular season, head coach Danton Cole is pleased with the way his young team looked.
Everything was real, from the coaching staff, real positive. Got a win out of it, and now we got to do the same thing. And the mantra, or whatever you want to say, is with us has been just keep getting a little bit better every day. And there's going to be bumps along the way, but just keep moving it forward. And the guys have done an outstanding job with that.
They head down to Bowling Green for their regular season opener. We want to give you some updates from other Michigan State sports. The 6th-ranked men's soccer team traveled to West Virginia on Wednesday for an out-of-conference matchup. The Spartans were upset by the Mountaineers 1-0. It was just the 3rd loss on the year for Damon Rensing's club. And the MSU field hockey team traveled to Central Michigan on Tuesday and beat the winless Chippewas 3-0. They improved to 7-7 on the year. And that's what's happening in sports this week. I'm Griffin Wasik.
Thanks, Griffin. And finally tonight, fall is in the air, and that means it's time for the annual Autumn Fest here in East Lansing. A wide range of vendors and activities are spread throughout the East Lansing Farmers Market to help showcase the fall harvest. This includes produce, live music, horse and wagon rides, face painting, along with free apple cider and donuts. And while Autumn Fest has come to an end, you can still stop in at the East Lansing Farmers Market every Sunday for the remainder of the month.
You know, I could really go for some cider and donuts right now.
Me too. That is one of my favorite parts of the season.
Me too.
Well, that's our show for the week.
We leave you now with music from the MSU Concert Orchestra performing Tchaikovsky's Fifth Symphony. Thanks for watching. Good night.